sense of soul.
Hey Soul Seekers, it's Shanna. Journey with me to discover how people around the world awaken to their true sense of soul. Now go grab your coffee. Open your mind, heart, and soul.
It's time to awaken.
Today on Sense of Soul, I have Dr. Tamra Sattler. She's a therapist, professor, and entrepreneur. Tamra has been learning about how people change more deeply and permanently through psycho-spiritual theories, namely the Enneagram. And she is also the author of Too Much and Not Enough, a therapeutic memoir and an explorative narrative about a particular type of personality structure known as Enneagram Four, or borderline style personality, a population that has been known to be difficult for therapists to treat and families to tolerate, and most importantly, to accept and embody. And Dr. Sattler knows this personality from the inside out. Her passion is to bring her two paths together to develop technology platforms to help humanity and awaken the planet. Please welcome Dr. Tamra Sattler.
Tamra, thank you so much for joining me today. I feel like right now our mental health is being challenged more than ever, no matter if you've been diagnosed or not. I feel like it's a battle to stay present and away from all of the chaos that's in the world.
I so agree. Absolutely.
Yeah, I feel like it's a time where we need to really, truly keep our tools close.
We do.
Yeah.
To really know ourselves. I think that's the crux of probably my book, my work, my everything is to know thyself. So if you know yourself, like you just said, you know your tools. Then the tools are more accessible. You have different tools. Agreed.
Yeah. Can you share a little bit about yourself for the listeners, just to give a little background about who you are and how you came into this work?
Yeah. So I was in the business world in Silicon Valley for a while. So fast paced, what was happening in technology and spirituality. And then I had kind of a pivot moment. My formula didn't work anymore of what I was kind of setting out to do, kind of the success American formula, individualized. And so I got a master's in counseling psychology, a PhD in more theoretical East-West, basically awakening, psychospiritual. And then I became a therapist. I have done, quite a bit. Done a lot of groups in Boulder, supervision, process. Also did an app actually called Awakenly, which is live on iOS. And I let my business partner just take that. Wrote a book, Too Much and Not Enough. And I continue to play with vehicles of growth and went really into the Enneagram. So the app is powered by the Enneagram. So the Enneagram, been studying since 2010, is basically an awakening tool. So we have this personality, this conditioning, the defense, the wounding and all. And how do we wake up out of that? And that's essentially what the Enneagram is. And that's why I'm so passionate, because there's not another map or tool that does this so efficiently and effectively.
Where did that come from? I'm just curious. Do you know?
So I think it's still unknown, but apparently like 2,000 years ago from Egypt. And then this, let's see, what are they called? The Sarman Brotherhood were traipsing across the East. And then Gurdjieff got a hold of it, Claudio Naranjo, some of these names, and then they brought it to the West. And so my business partner, teacher, Enneagram kind of transmission holder, Russ Hudson, who's probably wrote some of the bigger books, he is really trying to, before he leaves the planet, pass on the transmission. So it's had some iterations, but it definitely has an Eastern start to it. And then the West added on sort of the personality piece. But I think it's still kind of unknown. And I think it's gained in popularity. So I think there's 1 million searches a day. where I don't know up until now, and I don't know if you would agree with this, I don't think we were ready to really know ourselves. And I think we're ready now.
Yeah, I think we were
Yeah.
like intentionally kept from knowing ourselves, that it was heresy to do so.
I think so. Yeah. And I think not fully do we have permission, but we have more permission with, podcasts like yours or the Enneagram or now therapy, thank God, is on the rise. In all these ways, self-help is a huge industry, addiction groups, the AA model. Yeah, so all this stuff is becoming mainstream. Yoga is mainstream. Meditation is pretty mainstream. Mindfulness. So all this ways. And to me, you may agree, it's all to embody and know ourselves.
Mhm. Yeah, absolutely. When I was a young mother, I was on Paxil for like 7 years. And the only thing it did was keep me from knowing myself, right? It just numbed the part of me that I should have been listening to.
Yeah, yes. Right.
Yeah.
Turning you off.
It did. Then
Yeah.
into pain. Then it turned into physical pain. Then I got another diagnosis with some more meds because now it was called fibromyalgia, right? We're just putting different names on different symptoms and treating each one, where if it was just another place in my body. Now I numbed the pain, which also was screaming at me. So, pain physically, mentally. And instead of caring for it, we're just shutting it up.
Oh, I like that. Caring. Yeah. Tending to it, being with it, right? Which is really the way through.
That is how I begin to know myself, right? I needed to know, why I was triggered with certain things that put me into I used to call it a spiral, right? I felt like I was like spiraling out of control, or, avoidance. I'm still good at avoidance.
Nice. Yeah.
Yeah. But, you have to know these things about yourself.
Yeah. Yeah. It's essential.
Mhm.
Yeah. And that's the way that you can shed a lot of the conditioning, defenses, heal the wounds, and to be in relationship to the planet. So if you know yourself deeply, I have more of a mystical view, Hinduism, Buddhism, then most likely you're not going to treat the planet poorly, because our essence is goodness, contentedness, all is well, serving. And so why would you hurt the planet, hurt another? So yeah, I just love this whole concept of waking up.
Yeah. Waking up to understanding that you're part of all of it.
Yeah. 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 And so my view, and I'm not sure how many Christian listeners or other, but my view is we're all divine. So how do we wake up to our, divinehood, divineness? Yeah. How do I see the divine in you? How do we serve each other?
Yeah. We run away from life. We ran away from this out of fear, I guess. 2 episodes recently that were previously recorded, and this word keeps coming up constantly: safe, feeling safe.
Yeah. And then when you said before the tools, so me, each Enneagram, that word safe will mean something different to me than possibly to you. So for me, safety, I'm a type 4. Of course, I wrote the book on type 4, borderline style. Safety does not mean not having danger, not having fires, hurricanes, all that. Not at all. That just doesn't come into my attention. Safety for me is emotional safety, to be seen, to be understood, to not be overridden. But some people are freaked out, like literally, about obviously our politics, fires. I mean, freaked out. So, yeah. So, what does safety mean to all of us?
Colorado all of a sudden has a lot of homeless people, and many of them have mental illness.
They do. I know. It's awful. Yeah, I came from California, so I'm not really sure of what's happening here. But Boulder has a pretty good program. I know when I was in San Francisco, they had enough beds and people chose to sleep on the street. But that's part of the whole system too. Yeah.
It's a problem.
Yeah. We have a big issue going on for sure.
Yeah, it breaks my heart because, like, you see a lot of people who are veterans out there. It seems like there's an age group that's more common.
Yeah. In Boulder right now, I work with a different population than borderline now, but when I'm just roaming around, there are so many young kids that have tried drugs too early, have left their homes, trying to make it on their own with no tribe. It's not like our society has a tribe built in. I'm seeing a lot of that. I also am a teacher at Naropa, and so I see a lot of the students just lost, bewildered, and Naropa is an expensive school, but come from all parts of the country, world, and just, yeah, I love the spirit of wanting to serve, so that's the
Mhm.
difference.
Can you tell me about the title of your book, Too Much and Not Enough? I find that, a lot of us
Feel that way.
can, yeah.
So I worked with a population for about 15 years that's called borderline personality disorder. They're known, and not to label, but labels are good if they can find help.
Yeah.
This population kept me up at night because they were suicidal. They needed a lot of care. And so after that, after 15 years, I was no longer able to sustain this population. So anyway, I realized with a study that came out from Stanford that each Enneagram type has a personality disorder. So BPD, I never thought why I worked so well with this clientele. So type 4, at our worst, most identified, most ego identified, are BPD, cyclothymic bipolar. So I knew it from the inside. So the book really is my experience as a clinician, as a person. It's a little memoir as a human. And so just getting to the core of the 4/borderline style, I'm calling it, because I didn't want to keep saying borderline personality disorder because that's extreme. How does this type who sees the world, me, as glass is half empty, as feeling a deep abandonment wound, feeling like we need to be unique and special in every situation? How do we come to know ourselves in our walk when there's only 4% of the US population that are type 4? So, how do we really understand who we are so that we can transcend who we are? And so I wrote the book, and I was telling you earlier, I wasn't sure who it was for. It was one of those books that I just had to write. And one of my clients was very sheepish. She said, I found something, and I don't know what it's going to do to our relationship. She's my longest client in Boulder. And she was like, I read your book. So these people, these clients find things. It wasn't for my clients because it had a memoir in it, and I'm a therapist and I don't disclose. So she said, I've never felt so seen. I now know that I can be helped. And she had one other thing to say. And I was just like, I wrote the book for her. And she was just like, thank you. Like, damn. And so that's who I wrote the book for. And hopefully it gets in the right hands because I'm no longer seeing this population, but I still consult on people who have loved ones, partners, and there's still a bunch of 4s out there who feel like unicorns in the business world or in the political world or wherever they are, they feel like unicorns. So how can we embrace them? Right? They're so creative, they're so sensitive. They have so much emotion. So how can we make room and say, you're welcome here? So that was the book.
How often are we misdiagnosed or underdiagnosed when it comes to certain things that had we been able to understand ourselves, how that would have made a difference.
All the time and still all the time. So certain circles like Naropa, Buddhist university, wouldn't dare go near a diagnosis. Well, you know what? They're helpful. And you don't have to say to a client, you are this, but hey, check this out. Or the Enneagram. You're not just your personality, but check this out. See if you get something out of it. And then insurance goes the other way. We have to diagnose people to get them money or for us to get paid. So we're running both ways. What about using these things to get people help, holding them lightly? No one is their diagnosis, but can we use these things? I mean, psychiatrists surely diagnose, and they're throwing meds all over the place to try to figure out, symptoms. So I do think there's a place. And if we have a good relationship with our clients, we can say, because they know we care, hey, read this book. See what you think. Or to this, I do couples therapy. Why don't you all read this together?
Or I think sometimes it's like, watch this podcast or listen to this YouTuber who talks about it, who has it, who shares their own personal stories where you don't feel so alone.
Exactly. And I don't know why I'm talking about reading this book. I guess I'm just I'm just looking at my book, but a lot of people don't read anymore. So there's podcasts, there's videos, there's documentaries, there's groups. I really wish we had more AA groups just for us regular folks where
I say that all the time.
like what if you're going through a breakup or your kids empty nesters and you go down to this meeting and it's the empty nester group.
It's happening.
It's in the air. The time is now.
We're all waking up.
We're waking up.
We're all waking up.
It's all shifting.
New vibrations.
It's you.
It's you.
It's me. It's all of us.
Together.
A new time.
A new day.
A new energy.
A new energy.
New reality.
Awaken with us.
Awaken with us.
Awaken with us.
NewRealityTV.com.
I say that all the time. They should take off Alcohol Anonymous and just have it for all.
I know. But
Because the big book is brilliant. Yeah.
we don't have that.
I've been in Al-Anon for like over a decade.
Yeah. Awesome. This community is buoyed. I think we used to have it maybe in churches or who knows where. So how can we keep together in all this? I love these groups for that reason. I go to a Buddhist group just because it's so nourishing. Why not?
Because there's no shame there. Because that's kind of like the idea. It's like we're all here together. And you'll see different walks of life, which I also always find so amazing. We're all human. We're all experiencing this life. And yeah.
We all need to eat. We all need to feel, safe and whatever that word means to you. We all need to grow, hopefully. And so, yes, we're human. So we need shelter. We need the basics. And we're not getting the basics in our culture. We're not.
Right. No.
Wow. So how do we get the basics for people? But also how does everything else grow and serve?
You just saying that just made me think of how much nature has taught me and how, we've lost that.
I know. One of the reasons I moved to Boulder, because I'm looking at the, Front Range Flatirons, and I can be on a hike in 5 minutes. That's pretty amazing. I can be at a ski hill in 20 minutes. I need that nature. Like if we just are in it, it's just so nourishing. And if we watch it, we have nature in us if we could just slow down.
It's amazing how, you can walk past a tree and never notice like all of its beauty until you become still and mindful with it. And all of a sudden it's like, holy cow, this thing is magical.
Glistening and it's waving and it's doing all its stuff. Yes, we have a lot to learn in our culture.
Yeah, just slow down. I agree with you on that. Yeah, I just recently have been just kind of looking at everything from a different perspective, I guess, because maybe my daughter moved out and they're both very successful. But just like you work to have, to work to have more, that you work, and like, is this life? You know what I mean? Is this truly what humans are for? Or did that system actually contribute to damaging Earth and us? And so I admire that you moved up to, sounds like you like more of that simple, right, life, to be able to just take a hike in 5 minutes. I'm really desiring that. That seems to be like my goal from here on out.
And I'm still unwinding. So I came from, heavy conditioning on success and still started at 35 and then started unraveling. So however many years later, still have little pieces of like, oh, I need this. No, I don't. No, I need to eat, have shelter, have friends, have love. No, I don't need this. I've unwound a lot. And my doer nature in me, I'm still working on. How can I feel valuable just as me? And I think for a lot of us, it's hard to just sit with ourselves, not create something, not do a task.
You know, I mean, honestly, my youngest being in 7th grade, this is the first time I've ever really been able to do anything for myself that didn't revolve all my children.
Yeah.
Just yesterday, I was talking with my daughter. I was like, I used to bring 3 kids to 3 different schools and run around with a newborn.
Yeah. Wow.
But prior to this, I mean, I worked for my dad. My dad had a family business, and I did that with him until he passed in 2016. And I really don't desire any kind of life that has me working 9 to 5.
Awesome.
And I don't want that for my children. I don't want them to think that that is a successful life. I think that it almost steals our life from us.
It sure does. Yes.
I know people, my dad included, I mean, he died at 64 years old because he worked himself to death, right? I know people who, they never take a vacation. They can't even tell you the last time, they just went and walked and just, sat with nature. Like, we have this really, really distorted view on what I see personally now as a successful, rich life.
We do. I know. And I don't know if the boomers gave that to us. The millennials are seeming to do it differently. Yeah. My parents both, it was almost like pull yourself up by your bootstraps. They work themselves, to death. One of them to death also, like yours. Yeah. So I think we're getting, a little bit of a different, like we get to craft this. Like, how do I want this to look? And then it's fortunately not very cheap to live in this country, especially with inflation and the cost and everything. But how can you live in a co-op housing? Your kids live with you, long term.
Can you have a garden? Could you be more self-sufficient?
Right. What can we do so that we get peace of mind and leisure? It's unheard of to hang back, relax, take a month off. I took my first sabbatical at Salesforce.com, which is a huge company now. And my parents were just like, what do you mean? You're doing what? And I was like, I'm taking a sabbatical. They had no idea what that meant. And I did.
Yeah.
And set off this whole trend that people at Salesforce are still taking sabbaticals.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
And you know what? You're right. There's a huge difference between like the boomers and Gen Z. And there's going to be even more with Gen Alpha.
Yeah.
I have kids from 3 different generations.
Wow.
So my oldest is like barely millennial, right? He was born in the 90s, and then all the way to 2012. So even their conversations are so interesting because you have one that's like, you guys need to unify and get together. And she's like, I don't have to do anything that anyone thinks I should do. And it's so amazing. Or, or he'll say, "Why are you crying? Come on, suck it up." And she's like, "Because I'm allowed to express my feelings." It's so interesting to see how, they all look. And then you get any grandparent over and they're like, "What is wrong with these children these days?" Right?
I know.
What is wrong with them?
Yeah, I know.
I don't think anything's wrong with them, actually. I think they're less conditioned. They are the first of their kind. So, of course, they don't have a strong foundation.
Yeah, and they've seen so much in their short lifetimes. They've seen a lot. So,
Yeah. They have information at their fingertips.
Mhm.
They don't have to go and experience as much. But I think that I know for myself, that was one of the things I asked myself early on in my journey, Tamara, was that, how much of what I believed in had I been told to believe?
Yeah.
And of that, how much had I truly experienced to be my truth for myself?
Yep. I was the same. I had a false self running that did pretty well in this culture, but very far away than my truer self. Absolutely. But if you don't start diving in, then you live out your false self and then you leave the planet. And we get our spark from our true self. Like when you meet someone, you can kind of tell the openness, the spark, the are they really themselves? Are they shedding conditioning, other past relationship? Like who is this person? And that's kind of like one of my, well, not so much my favorite, but yeah, how do I discern who people are, where they are, what they are? But there's not a lot of psychological theories that talk about adult development, the awakening process. Where are we? People hate words like enlightenment, awakening, but that's fine. Don't like the word, but where are we in our openness, in our non egoic place, in our deepest self? Where are we? And those are the people I like to be around because
Yeah.
if we're around a bunch of true selves, it
Mhm.
feels different.
Yeah. Authentic relationships are definitely few, though.
Yeah, how do we find our tribe and then keep serving, get the spark in everyone, because
Yeah.
everyone wants a spark. No one doesn't want a spark. So how do we get contagious about it?
I have to ask you,
Yes.
I'm not so familiar with some of the characteristics of border personality
Okay.
because I've not, had anybody, I usually become an expert in whatever, I'm dealing with.
Your children.
Right. Or children. Or my mother, or yeah, the people around me. A lot of times border personality is one that is common in addicts and alcoholics.
Yeah. And bipolar too. And sometimes both can go together. So would it just give you just a flavor of it? So in the DSM, which is our psychological manual, you need 7 out of the 9 symptoms. So basically stuff like unstable relationships, suicide ideation, substance abuse is in there, sometimes cutting, self-sabotage. It's been a while since I looked at the symptoms. Yeah. But that's the flavor. They take up 10% of the psych wards. I would think it's more. So when you're in relationship, thank God when I was a therapist, I had a container, boundaries. But now I have a few at a distance that have this diagnosis, and you feel constantly pushed and pulled as their other. So the premier book is Walking on Eggshells. You feel like, oh God, what did I say? And then you get slapped. And the thing that I say is no one tried to be this way. These were people that came through the womb and had a culture developed around them that brought out these really hard characteristics. So let's not like shame people. Let's just get them help.
Yep.
So yeah, so they can be really difficult to treat. Most therapists will not go near them. So where are they? They're in jails, they're at psych wards, they're being misdiagnosed, they're creating havoc all around. Yeah.
Medicated, probably heavily.
Yep. Or not running around. Yeah, so very charismatic. It's no doubt that they attract a lot of people because they've got fire in them.
I didn't know that, really.
Yeah, yeah, they can be dynamic, but once you get them, the anxious ambivalence starts, the fear, the abandonment wound starts to stir. So, yeah.
You know, what's interesting is I've had both, close to me alcoholics as well as people who have some mental illness. And I learned over time, and I guess probably with the help of Al-Anon, that I pretty much have to treat them the same in many ways. I have to have my boundaries.
Yeah.
I have to understand the 3 C's.
Yeah.
I didn't create it. I didn't cause it. And I can't cure it.
Wow.
Because you do, as a person like me, I definitely was a fix-it person. Like, I'm going to fix you. And I think this comes from being little and being around that, always thinking I'm going to be the good one. So that way, you either go one way or the other. I'm going to make noise and be heard, or I'm going to blend in and just try to make everybody and please everybody, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. All those things. I still have relationships with all those people. I still love them very much. They're the best people I know, right? It was me that had to work on how to be healthy in my relationships with anybody, but especially with those who were struggling on their own. I always say I am absolute proof that you can still be in a relationship with an alcoholic and still be healthy. Yeah, and as well as mental illness. It's not about changing them, it's about you changing you.
So awesome. Yeah, I
Yeah.
love that. Yeah,
Everyone's worth loving.
I agree. Everyone.
Them knowing that, I think, helps their journey too.
Absolutely. Like, you're loved, and you can't call me every 5 seconds. And I still love you. I'm not going to answer. I still love you, but I'm not going to answer your call every 5 seconds. Just can't.
Oh, and after a while, they don't even try. And so it's not even a thing.
Right. They get the boundaries. Like, boundaries are for real. We educate people how to treat us. Like you were saying, I did a similar dance with people. And it's like, no, I thought I was so empathic and so helpful. No, it's actually pretty destroyed in the process.
Or you see, I did this and it worked for me. So you should do this and it'll work for you. But it just doesn't work that way. We're all such unique souls, here at, having this experience.
Yeah.
It's not the same for any of us. But I do like the whole Enneagram, and I did not know that it was connected to different mental illnesses. Like, what are the other ones that it's connected to, or is it pretty much all of them?
No, yeah. So, type 1, if you know the Enneagram, OCD, type 2, histrionic, type 3, just your typical kind of culture, type A, type 4, like me, borderline, type 5, schizoid, schizoaffective, schizotypal, type 6, paranoid personality disorder, which isn't quite a personality disorder, but anyway, 7, narcissism, 8, antisocial, and 9, dependent personality disorder. So,
Okay. I feel like I want to go to my whole house.
yeah, so it's for real. I know. I've typed all my nephews and my nieces and my siblings, and they all get a kick. Who doesn't want to know themselves, and who doesn't want to know your friend, your boyfriend? It's so contagious. I approached Google once to say, I think you should have a self category, and they're like, "What?" This is in the early days. They want to know themselves. They would have like blown up their categories. They used to have categories like portals. So yeah, I just think knowing self, being self is the most interesting for all of us. Then we can understand other. Then I can have compassion for you. I don't have to fight you. Yeah. So
Absolutely. I think it's the most important thing right now in the world. Yeah. And if you know yourself, you may see that you need some love and some care, and some
right,
healing.
you need to ask for something or change it up. Or say no to something.
Oh yeah. I had to learn that one. I even have like fake like scripts in my phone just in case I can't think of something.
Yeah.
because I'm so used to saying yes. I needed to actually make up fake no's. Not fake no's, but like
Yeah.
I need to choose myself today. I had to come up with something. I get too pressured on the fly. I'm like, yes, I'll do it. I'll do it.
I know. I have the opposite. No is my favorite word. That's what my dad, when I came out of the womb, it was no.
You're like,
Yeah. So I have to wake up more to a maybe and a yes. So maybe is not even in my realm. What about a yes? There's differences in people.
yeah, you have to just figure out for yourself and what works. Yeah. Thank you so much. You're such a beautiful person.
Oh,
And maybe if I ever come up to Boulder, I'll have to message you and we'll go on a hike
you.
or something.
Yeah, we need to.
That'll be fun.
And yeah, if whatever questions, concerns, I still consult with this population. If you're a 4, sometimes I'll run 4 groups, just whatever you need, any information. Tamra, Tamra, Sattler, Sattler.com.
So what is that? Is there a name for the 4? Or is it just type 4?
It's a lot of people call it different things. So romantic, individualist. And then as we heal, we don't look so much like 4s. Like, even though ordinary still gives me the creeps, like the word ordinary still is like, whoa, I can be more ordinary than I used to be able to be. So, we evolve. So I'm not going to look like as clear as a 4 as I used to look.
Right.
But yeah, so we have this, each of the types have this evolution.
I love that. I see that with, just like again with astrology. I used to think, gosh, I'm really not a stubborn person. It sounds so negative. But, stubborn, like I said, could be persistent, could be, many things. Like, I'm going to get this done, which is a good thing. So changing that perspective sometimes and mixing it up.
Yeah.
Evolving. We evolve through, our types. I tried to see if I could find my Enneagram type.
I wouldn't want to type you just because, people are supposed to type themselves, but you're between 1 and 2 numbers for me, just in being with you. So.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm a people pleasing mother. Well, and I have, ADHD too. So wherever that fits in, I don't know.
I'm holding you in 2 different places.
But I have a little bit of social anxiety and stuff like that too. So yeah, I would have never, ever in my life thought I'd podcast. So this is with the evolving part and the growing part, because my best friend, who is definitely the charismatic type we talked about, yeah, she was the one that would want to do this. I'm just kind of, her sidekick, and then she left me.
That's so cool. Yeah, it just seems
Well,
like just you. I mean, this seems so perfect for you.
well, and she's very vulnerable, and the way she's so raw and sharing her story, I think has helped so many people.
Yeah, and you're raw too. You're vulnerable too, which is nice.
Yeah. I think that's part of the whole knowing yourself, because once you know yourself, there's no shame there. Yeah, you share it, and it only helps people.
Exactly.
Yeah. All right, love. Nice to meet you. Have a good day. All right, bye.
Sense of Soul. Thanks for listening to Sense of Soul podcast, and thanks to our special guest. If you want more of Sense of Soul, check out my website at senseofsoulpodcast.com.